Welcome to another episode of Stronger. Today, I have on one of my very close friends, Kristan Serafino. Kristan is one of the most well-known celebrity men's groomer on the planet. She also created her own product line called The Best Pace, which is what I wear in my hair. But what's interesting about this episode, and a lot of you might be asking, why am I bringing a men's groomer on? But Kristan gives a masterclass in confidence. And she has worked with so many of the biggest names in Hollywood before stepping foot on the big screen or in the red carpet. And she helps them with confidence and looking their best. So there are little strategies that Kristan goes into that I think a lot of you are overlooking. If you have that important board meeting, if you're going to be on TV or you just want to look great, I think this is going to be a very important episode. And this isn't something that I look at as vanity. This is something that has to do with confidence, how we carry ourselves in life, which is incredibly important. I know you're going to love this episode. Let's go. All right, so you and I have known each other now how many years? I mean, 7, 8. It feels like...
No, I feel like it's more than that.
Maybe.
I could go...
Oh, no, it's got to be more.
Yeah.
Because...
It was a cover shoot.
It was Ryan Reynolds'
Yep.
Men's Health cover shoot.
Yes.
And Blake told me to come down.
Yes.
And I walk in and I remember going down being like, I had a haircut scheduled the next day.
No, I remember.
And I walk into this studio in, I think it was like Tribeca.
Yeah, I think.
Right. I think we were like up high. We were on the roof.
Yes, we shot on the roof.
We shot on the roof. And I walk in and Ryan's doing his thing and you looked at me and you're like, Don, come with me. And I was like, what? You're like, you're getting a haircut right now. I'm like, I'm getting one tomorrow. You're like, no, I can't let you walk around here with that.
And like, I remember going to his publicist. I'm like, who is that? I was like, he's so good looking, but his haircut is like horrific.
It wasn't that bad.
No, it was really bad. It was bad. Like it was horrible.
I think it was just overgrown.
No, it's bad. But I mean, you're still so. But I did say you were so handsome.
Oh, I appreciate
and that was it. Like at that point, you sat in the chair. And here's the other part that I think that really solidified who you are as a person and the care you have for people you don't even know. If you remember, I was 2 weeks away from shoulder surgery.
Oh, yes.
I was having rotator cuff surgery again.
And I immediately were like, you need to speak to Charlie, right?
And I'll never forget, we were on the roof and I was explaining to you that I had this shoulder problem. I was going in for surgery. And you literally put your hands together and you said, please, please come see my guy. Please.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
and that guy ended up being in your wedding party, which is
I was in his wedding party.
Sorry, you were in his wedding party. You were in his wedding party,
yes.
which is ironic, and we were all in his wedding party. It's just so funny how like birds of a feather, like you just because everyone's always saying, oh, well, I have the best this, or he's a world renowned.
No, you do have the best.
He's Charlie. There's
hands down.
Yeah, he's hands down. So I remember that, and then I got you into the club, but that's when you and I connected, and I met Tommy and Gio through you, and you started training at Drive, and I met your significant other, and
that's it. I mean,
so it's got to be 10. It's got to be at least, because I couldn't imagine Ryan wasn't going to do a cover 6-7 years ago. There's no way. He probably did this cover. If my guess would probably be 13.
That's what I'm saying. It's been
14,
a while.
Yeah, it's got to be over 10 years.
But that's how the relationship started, was that you needed a haircut, which you were scheduled. I cut it.
It looked terrible.
You saved me from shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And then we started. You and I think is really interesting. We have this thing that there's no one else in the world I do this with. But before I ask you the question, we will say to each other, done. Like it's done.
Oh, no, always.
I mean.
Don, I have a question. I have a favor. And I'm like, it's done. What do you need?
And so from the beginning, you and I have always sort of established our relationship in that way that it just sort of speaks to,
I think, who you know your real friends are also. It's like if you, you never ask me for anything, right? And I never ask. So I think if there is the occasional ask, you want to come through for people that you really care about.
Yes.
And that's bringing value to someone's life, which I think a lot of people don't,
And it also speaks to, in the world, as you know, as you age, your circle gets smaller or your circle becomes a square, as one of my good friends says. And it's interesting how who sort of rises to the occasion. And, that, the love of my life has been going through some challenges with his health, and you've stepped up in so many ways.
And he's battling.
And
he's battling. He's tough.
Yes, he is. And you stepped up in so many ways, from speaking to me on a daily basis, scheduling calls with me, being there as a friend, and also introducing me to people.
You don't speak to me enough. We don't do it enough because that's something, and I always tell you.
I have a 3-year-old child.
I know, but
we have a family, and a business.
And I get that, but like the second you're, forever in a bad spot, I think we always know. The second you text me, I see it. So I describe you. It's funny how I describe you because I mean so I got coined as a celebrity trainer, which I hate and I never liked, and
I agree.
I never tried to work with celebrities, and they were all been very good to me and very good to my career. But it happened to be that I was good at what I did, and a lot of celebrities hired me, so the publications wanted to call me that.
Yes.
You got coined as a celebrity men's groomer. Yes. So when people ask me, what does she do? I say, well, imagine this. What I do for men's grooming, she's probably even a bit more well-known because I just feel like you are like the shining star in the industry. Thank you. You're always you're with so many different people. But how do you feel about that title?
The same way you do. When people say that, and I agree, it really is more of a media thing. And, back in the day when there were magazines and that's all there was, we would get quoted like you. I would, end up giving a quote and they'd be like, celebrity hairstylist, a men's groomer, Kristan Serafino. And I used to cringe because I'm not a celebrity. My clients are. And I would always say that I'm not the celebrity, they are. What I am is the eyes behind the lens. I am the last person to touch them or see them before they go out. Right. Whether it's on camera, for a photo shoot, for a red carpet, whatever it is. So that's where I see myself as. I'm the authority in my space. Right. I'm not a celebrity. And it's not I struggle with that as well. I hate that term.
And it's not about hair and it's not about makeup. No. It's about confidence. It 100%. Really is. I mean, you're coming into a situation where, and as well as I do, a lot of the celebrities going out into these environments, they are nervous. Yes. They want to look good. They want to make a good impression. They are maybe sometimes feeling a little vulnerable. Yes. And we know a lot of them, if someone just has a baby or if someone is put on a little bit of weight for a role and they don't feel great about themselves, they might be losing their hair. There's so many things that they come to you for, but they are really at the end of the day coming to you because they want that little bit of confidence, because if they have that confidence, then they can go do their job at a higher level of quality.
It's funny you say that. I like to speak to my job I'm a hairstylist that does men's grooming. So a lot of times the term men's groomer means skin and so like more makeup. So a lot of men's groomers are makeup artists that will style hair, whereas I'm the opposite. I'm a hairstylist that can also do the skin as well. Shaving, anything I say from the neck up is where I'm responsible for. And then hands for camera, I always make sure they have, moisturizer, because a lot of times men's hands are dry. So when you're talking on camera and you see it in 4K, that's just sort of part of it. So
I got a manicure yesterday just because I was
you were seeing me?
I was seeing you, and I'm still looking at my fingernails, and I'm like, all right, they're a little dry. But thank you. But so how did you get into it? I mean, I've never asked you this. Like, how did this start for you?
I have an interesting story. So I was graduated from Boston College. And I remember before I went to college, my mom was a hairstylist back in the 60s and 70s, put my dad through college, University of Miami, put him through law school, supported the family on her career, never went to college. And her dream was that her girls, my sister and I, had to go to a university. And not only did we have to go, we grew up in South Florida, but she believed we had to go to school in the Northeast. So I graduated Boston College, and my sister graduated Villanova. And it was funny because when I was turning 18, about to leave for school, I'll never forget the story. My mom was in the bathroom putting on mascara, and I walk in and I'm like, Mommy, I'm going to be a hairstylist.
Wow. How old were you?
I was 18. And she took her mascara on and looked at me and said, over my dead body, you will go to college. And went back to the mirror and kept putting on her mascara. And I was like, because she was one. And what it was is it's not that she didn't want me to be a hairstylist. She wanted my sister and I to have the opportunities of going for an education that she didn't have.
Right. I completely understand.
It was a remarkable journey. And so I stayed the course. I graduated. And after graduating BC, I came to New York, worked in corporate for 10 years. And finally, at the age of 30, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to do hair. And I didn't know that, though, to be honest with you. I was sort of deep-seated. And my uncle, who came up, he was my mom's boss when she was 18 years old. They own, salons together. He took me to the hair show. in the Javits Center. My parents sat him down and said, you have to talk to her. She's miserable. I was so lost. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't have a passion. I just was sort of going through the motions of getting a paycheck. And I was doing very well. I was making 6 figures. I had an IRA, a savings account, a retirement. And at the age of 30, I left it all. I went to the hair show, and it was like the angels. Oh, they sang. And I saw, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do.
Oh, so when you showed up to the hair show,
I
was when the light bulb went off in your head.
Like
and by the way, giving your mom some credit here. First off, BC is an incredible school.
Thank you.
Right? That's number one. Two, that's 4 years to kind of just acclimate to life. Like
exactly.
Amelia, my daughter, just went away, and I think on the 3rd night she messages us and she takes a picture of her laundry and she sends it to us, and she's like, would you be proud I separated whites and darks, and went off on this whole thing that I thought was completely adorable. But that is, as much as I want her to get an education, right, I want her to live and experience life and understand that if she needs us, we're going to be there for her.
And that's exactly was our family's philosophy. And my mom and my dad was very much an integral part of this. So my parents are high school sweethearts. They're 80 and 81, and they're still together. They're celebrating their 59-year anniversary this year, and 65 or 66 together as a couple. So
they're on the same route as my parents.
Yeah.
My parents met on the staircase of Southampton College when they were 17.
That's amazing.
And they're both, my dad's turning 80 in November. So we're like in the same.
And so, I mean, my dad was, again, both of my parents. But I think because my mom did not have the experience that my dad and my sister had, she was just so adamant about it.
So do you feel like she had a little bit of not a chip, but in a way, a little bit of a regret in a way? She's like, I wish I went and had that?
I don't think so. I think that was her journey. I don't think she was necessarily her journey was to be a hairstylist, and she was brilliant at it and excelled at it. And again, she gave her sister their first down payment on their house. She was the one making the money, right, and all of her other siblings were doctors and CPAs and went a different road. So she had a very successful career.
So you went to this hair show. This light bulb went off. And you started working with just normal people. What was your first celebrity break? I mean, I'm going to try. I don't like talking about celebrities a lot, but this is kind of part of your path, and I want to explain that into the whole entrepreneurial side, which we'll get to later on.
So I think my entrepreneurial career started early. My dad is an entrepreneur, and so I think it started very early on for me. And so what
did he do? I'm sorry.
It's funny. He was in the sporting goods industry, and the store Champs.
Oh, yeah.
Champs, yeah, he founded Champs back 50 years ago.
That's still around.
It's still around. So he sold it in the 80s. And so that was sort of his claim to – I love one of his stories is like Phil Knight came to him to sell Nike shoes.
That's insane.
It's insane.
You never told me that.
Yeah. It's so funny. Gio said the same thing to me. Gio Benitez, we were having this conversation.
The best. He's the best.
Tommy and Gio were with my parents, and he's like, you've never said that before. And
that's a big store.
It's so interesting because I almost had this guilt of saying like, well, does my dad think I'm embarrassed by something? But that's not it at all. It's that the topic really never came up to share that story.
Do you also feel like maybe it was an identity thing? Because that's a successful chain of stores, and you're self-made. But like okay.
I mean, my dad is an integral part of my business today.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk every day, and sometimes I'm like, oh, Daddy, and he'll just talk me through things. So it's funny because I've never been more proud of his accomplishments in his career, and he had the highs and the lows. And then circle back again with the highs. But it was one of those things where when I thought about it, and even now you're like, well, you never knew that. Well, it's because I guess I've always been sort of private about my, and I've always had this feeling like I never want to seem like I'm bragging. And that has always been, I don't even know if it's an insecurity. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I always felt like my work should speak for itself. When people ask me, what do you do? I say I'm a hairstylist. I'm not just a hairstylist. I'm really not. Like,
of course not.
I like you go on national TV. I have my own company. I have my own product line.
You're way more. The men's grooming was a platform to elevate you to a level. Mm-hmm. And then you are one of the few people that have actually leveraged that platform, and you've started, you've become an entrepreneur.
But I also, it's funny because I never want to be that person. Well, I do this and I do that and I do that. I just feel it's more like, my work speaks for itself. And I think that has just sort of been the approach. But, getting back to what my dad did, I think the entrepreneurial spirit was always a part of me because that's just what I grew up with. And, when he sold it back in the 80s, he had over 100 plus stores. And
that's madness.
No, it's madness. His stories are fascinating. Yeah. fascinating.
Got to get him on.
He says, can I tell you something?
I would.
Do you know
it's fun.
Adidas or Adi, whatever his last name was, he flew to Germany to talk to my dad. And literally, my dad told this story. I was like, wait, I never heard this before. The Adidas, the tracksuit that became big in the 70s, that only athletes are wearing to run track.
Sure, yeah.
My dad sat with him, had a conversation. He's like, you need to make these like looser and whatever. And he said they sat at the conference room and he's like, oh, that's a really good idea.
That's like revolutionary.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, again, it's just part of our conversation that becomes our family, but in ways I'm like, wow, that's a really cool story, Dad. That's inspirational on so many levels.
The Stronger podcast would not be possible if it weren't for our incredible sponsors. Cozy Earth has been coming through for us every single time. I am blown away by their products. They just recently sent me their socks and their comforter. Now, if you've watched my episodes, you will know that I'm someone that heats up in bed because I talk about that all the time. Cozy Earth has solved this problem for me by their bamboo cooling sheets, and they just sent me this comforter that I am absolutely obsessed with. Sleep for me is essential. My number one focus. If I sleep well, everything else falls into place. So in reference to their comforters, it's a foundational Cozy Earth essential crafted with intention to support deeper rest, designed with naturally breathable, temperature-regulating materials. These luxuriously soft comforters help your body settle, cool, calm, and gently supported throughout the night. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code STRONGER for up to 20% off. That's code STRONGER, STRONGER, for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here because I need more sheets. So please mention me so they know I'm doing a good job. If you don't mention me, I'm in trouble. I'm obsessed with this company. Cozy Earth, experience the craft behind the comfort and make every day feel intentional. Guys, thank you. So where was that first pivot for you into the celebrity world? Mine was Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
Who was yours and how did that happen?
So I started off, and I'm sorry, I digressed there for a second.
No, it's fine. This is fun.
But, at the age of 30, most people already, like I said, I was making very good money. I had a career, and I went back from a 6-figure salary into a salon at Tony. I've been very strategic with my career. Beyond strategic, right, wrong, or indifferent. I pivot really well, so I've made adjustments, which has really been beneficial as I start my career over again at the age of 50 in my new company. So I basically went to Tony & Guy, which was a stalwart in education, and that's where I learned how to cut hair. My first year, I made $12,500 at $6.50 an hour.
That's real.
And yes, I had a 2-bedroom apartment by myself in the village.
You can afford a 2-bedroom apartment on that. I love it.
But I could before because I was making money.
Yeah, you're making money.
And I was looking adorable and I had clothes and I was, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, should I walk home? Like, this one tokens, like get tokens.
Oh, I remember. I remember tokens.
Yeah.
I remember tokens.
Like, oh my God, like, I don't even know if I can, my parents were sending money. My uncle at the time, he shared an apartment with me. He never was there just so that I could afford to live because he was a CPA and he was going from New York and Louisiana and Florida. And so just, I think, to help me out, he basically signed a lease so that I could still stay, and kind of use it as for his business. But I went, oh my God, what did I do? Like went through every single dollar, all my savings, my IRA, my retirement. Talk about debt. I racked up debt, but I always said I'm going to make it in this business. And when I first started, it wasn't that I wanted to work with celebrities. I didn't know that at first because back then there were models on the covers of magazines. It had just started making that turn.
That's funny how you remember that pivot because we're almost the same age.
Yeah.
I'm 48, so
okay. I got a few years on you.
Yeah, but you don't look it.
I know, but you act like my older brother. So
thank you. I appreciate that. That's a
but yeah, so it hadn't quite shifted yet. So when I got my chair, I switched salons. I started thinking, and I'll tell you how that happened. Tony & Guy had something that was called the Photographic Awards. And as an assistant, I submitted a picture and I was a finalist. And I was like, well, this is really cool. And that's sort of where I found my interest in photo shoots. But back then it was like editorial and fashion spreads and beauty pages. And I remember, I think this is actually a funny story. My first shoot was in Harper's Bazaar. But if you remember front of book, or which was at the beginning, and then there'd be like the beauty fashion, and then at the end, and the pictures were like the size of like $50. They were really tiny. And I couldn't believe like I was in Harper's Bazaar, and they would put your name in the gutter, which was like in the seam of the magazine. We had to kind of like push it down to see it.
You had to flatten it out.
Yes, flatten it out.
It's like it's in the spine of the
exactly in the spine. And I remember calling Mom like, Mommy, Daddy, like,
I made it.
I'm in Harper's Bazaar. And my mom goes and buys the magazine.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's page 17. And she like turns and I said, do you see my name? And she's like, no. And I'm like, no, Mom, look. Like, oh, she's like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And couldn't see my name. And I was like, well, that's really upsetting. And then when I switched to the beauty and the fashion, and then I saw that their name was front of page. And I was like, well,
I need to be there.
I need to be there. And so then I started on my own. I never had an agent until I made it. So I started on my own cold calling publicists.
I love this.
And saying,
I love this.
You know, I remember in the beginning, it was like, hi, my name's Kristan Serafino. I would love to work with your celebrities. And they're like, who do you work with? I'm like, nobody. Click. And I did that until, well, I should backtrack. When I was in the salon, my first real celebrity was Elizabeth Berkley in women's. So that's when I was doing women's hair. So she really was my and to this day, we're still very close friends.
That's awesome. Good
and she was my sort of first that I did the Met Ball with her. I mean, and again, this was very new to me because it had just started changing over. And then I realized I wanted to go into the men's space. And so
Why? Well, because that's unique, right? You're a female,
yes,
but you are the best at men's grooming.
Thank you. It sort of happened in a way on its own because I cut hair.
Yeah, and
so when you sort of, you know, I guess I sort of found a space that needed more of a
more frequent. Like guys, like, I'll get my hair cut don't laugh. I get a cut like every 2 to 3 weeks, right? And you know, I'll get on the train sometimes and come in and see and get my hair cut because women, it's a bit different. My wife gets a cut. How often do you get your hair cut? I
mean, it just depends on the hairstyle and we can get away. As hair colors a little more often sometimes with women. So I just sort of found this niche. I cold call publicist. A publicist gave me a shot. And it's funny, that publicist I still work with today and gave us one of our, at the time, biggest clients. Mm-hmm. And that was many, many years later. But, you know, it literally started with just the people that the unknowns, and they just kept giving you more and more break.
Well, you're at the forefront of it. This is what's fascinating is that you just mentioned earlier the time where magazine covers went from models to celebrities, which is brilliant.
Yes.
This had to be around the time where a men's groomer, like it wasn't really like guys getting their hair cut. That's one thing, but guys using like I've come in for you've done
every cover.
You've done every cover that I've done, every muscle and fitness cover, men's health, whatever it is. You have been there for me. And yeah, you know what? We're using makeup. Where you're going through my bushy eyebrows and just, you know, making sure my neck's clean. And you're on set and you're sweating and you're coming over and you're dabbing me up with little cloths because I got this Italian Guido skin and all this like, you know, these are things that I just need your help with. But back, you know, rewind this story now 20 years.
Yes.
And there wasn't a lot of men, even now it's like, where's Kristan? I have a shoot. I need you here. I can't do it without you. So
yeah, I mean, it's been a really interesting time. And like I said, my journey was more women's. And really what catapulted me truly into the men's space is that Pamela De Palma was a publicist for Camila Alves. Camila Alves was dating Matthew McConaughey. I was flown to LA to work with Camilla.
First trip that you were getting on a plane for?
Yeah, it was. It was.
And that had to be exciting.
It was for Camilla.
And that had to be exciting, by the way.
It was so exciting. Yeah. And I remember, I can't believe I was going to LA and I was working with this stunning model. And we were in the bathroom of their house. And who walks in but Matthew and asks for a haircut. And single-handedly changed my career like that. I cut his hair. The next thing, I think it was the week after, we were in Europe together. Yeah. Like, just like that, it changed. And to this day, I still work with Matthew. I'm seeing him in a few weeks. I just cut his hair 2 weeks ago.
As much as it's about you being great at what you do, right. There was a documentary I watched called Hired Gun, and Alice Cooper. It's all about the backup musicians, and Alice Cooper said a comment, and I started laughing. He said, when one of your musicians goes down, they break an arm, they get sick. Unfortunately, people do pass. Things happen, right? He goes, there's thousands of musicians out there that are phenomenal. They can all play. Yeah. He goes, then I dwindle it down to the people I want to go out and have a beer with. Yep. That goes down to a short list. Then I say to myself, who can I be on tour with for a year? And there's like 10 people. and that's part of your magic is combining that perfect. I mean, your skill set's unbelievable. I want to push that aside.
Thank you.
But the temperament, I think that's a lot of where the gift comes from, because working with these people, they have bad days. They're in tough environments. They're traveling. They're jet lagged. They come in. Sometimes they're on jobs they don't want to be at.
Yes.
And you've got to come in and you've got to immediately acclimate to where it is they are in that moment. And that's why I think you've been shining for as many years as you've been.
Thank you. And I think, Don, it goes back to the term that you said that you hate the term celebrity hairstylist or celebrity trainer. And it goes back to that because it is people, younger people come to me and say, well, how do you become a celebrity hairstylist? And the first thing is, I'm not a celebrity. And if you remember that, you'll have success in this career. So I always am very clear when I am working with my clients, I am not the celebrity. I am the hairstylist and groomer on the job for one responsibility only, and that's to take care of that client. And I think a lot of times what happens is people sort of blur the lines of it's very easy to get excited by or enjoy the world they live in because you're on private jets and you're doing things, you have access to things that you wouldn't have. And you're walking into Super Bowl and you're just, right.
Yeah. It's like red carpet.
It's red carpet like you've never experienced it before. You're experiencing it through their eyes. But what the reality is I can't wait to get home to my world.
Yeah.
That's their world. And I think that if you're clear on that, which you and I are, I think the longevity of our career continues.
Right.
Because once again, it's about me and my career, what I do. I'm the authority, like you're the authority in your space. And I'm super clear on that.
And they're coming to you in a pretty much a vulnerable position if you think about it. They are talking to you about things that maybe they're not happy about. You know what? Got some more grays coming in. You know what? I'm balding here a little bit. I'm seeing this on camera. It's not, they've got to be vulnerable and they've got to immediately open up to you. And how you respond to them within those first few seconds, I believe sets the tone for whether you're going to be working with someone like McConaughey decades later. No, but it really is the truth, because if you out of nowhere are like, oh, Matthew, I loved you at Magic Mike. In my opinion, like the chances of it being done, it's probably done because you just went from being a professional at what they're coming to you for to a fan.
Exactly.
And 100%. They need to trust you. And that's probably the number one thing I see with the majority of the people out there that want to get into your line of work, or I get the call all the time, or my line of work, is they don't understand that we're all expendable. We really are. No,
you and I have talked about this before.
We've talked about this, but it's a very valuable lesson. The one thing that I've always valued is the fact that someone's bringing me in for a job, and I have to do that job well, but I also have to understand there's a line.
Yes.
And I need to respect that line and give them their space. Yes. And I have to understand that if I decide to retire tomorrow, I'm replaced that day. Yes. And when you establish that thought process in your head, you develop some humility.
100%. We've spoken about this many times before. And I mean, you really are only as good as your last job.
100%.
And, does it occasionally, you become attached when you work with someone for X amount of years. Sometimes there is a little like gut punch when they stop working with you.
Happens to everyone.
And you think, oh.
It happens to everyone.
And you think, what did I do wrong?
Oh, yeah.
And the majority, you have had this conversation many times, and sometimes you did nothing wrong. It's just life evolves. And 100%. I remember Joe Blackwell, who was one of my bosses very early on in my career, a hairstylist. She owned a salon. She said to me, when a client leaves, it makes room for a new one. Yep. And I've always sort of kept that in the back of my head, that it's ebb and flow, just like life, ebb and flow. And when one sort of exits, it just makes room for someone new in my life. And, we've been through this. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and we've had those times where you're like, oh my God, like I know this person's family. And
yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it's a gut punch.
It's a gut punch. And then you just say, you know what? If I did do something wrong, I'm unaware of it. And I hope that at some point someone would let me know, because I always want to be better at what I do. But if I didn't, then it's really not about me. It's about me learning from experience, taking the wonderful things that I learned from that and sort of moving on to the next phase of my life.
But it's an important lesson. 100%. So in the moment, I remember the first time it happened to me, I was probably 28 years old. It was a massive celebrity. I worked with this person for about a year. We had an incredible relationship. I did a great job with him, and he went off. And then when he came back, he moved. Never heard from him. But I remember at the time, I'm in my late 20s. I'm just starting my own business. And I'm saying to myself, did I do anything wrong?
Yes.
And I learned to realize that it could have been, do I know the reason? Maybe not, but it could have been that he moved, right? He's not there anymore. It could be that maybe he just needs to see a new face.
Right.
Maybe every time someone does a project, they need to see something. And I've run into him years later, and we have a good relationship, and it's fine. And I'm actually happy it happened, because you got to understand how to deal with that stuff.
Exactly.
And it makes you tougher, and it makes you realize that this is a business. And just like you or someone else likes to go try a different restaurant, it doesn't mean you don't have a loyalty to that one restaurant you love, but you want to get different food sometimes. You want a different look. You want a different haircut.
To realize that the original restaurant is actually the best.
Could be.
And it's funny because that just happened. Someone we had the same experience, didn't work with for many, many years. And now I'm working together again. And it's life. And when you come back, it comes back so much better.
It's a good feeling when that comes back.
Because
it's happened to me a few times recently in my community. You don't see people, and then out of nowhere, like, and sometimes you don't know. Like, Don, I took a break. Unfortunately, I got sick, or I lost my mind. You're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you just realize people are busy in life. So getting into that, I want to pivot to managing personalities. Because even though, listen, I'll always be a coach at heart.
Right.
I'm an entrepreneur. You'll always be a men's groomer. You're an entrepreneur. But part of what got us to being able to be in business and being able to pivot and being malleable is managing personalities. It is interesting how, most people are not looking at you as a master at managing personalities, but you do. You have to day in and day out go into different jobs, different locations. Some people are a bit privileged. Other people are the easiest human beings to work with. Do you feel like that was something you were born with, or do you feel like that's something that you adapted over time?
That's a great question. And I think it's sort of a two-part question. I think the older and wiser I get, it becomes easier. I think that the way that I have managed that, I think it really comes from my parents. They just have always instilled for me confidence and belief in myself. We were never allowed to say the word can't. We were never allowed to say the word, I won't do it. We just were never allowed to. So I think part of it is belief in myself. And I think for me, when I am on a job, I'm me. Like, I don't alter myself for someone. If someone is frazzled, I don't get frazzled. I stay me, because I believe, and this has probably come with experience, maybe early on in my career, because I didn't know as much, I might have gotten a little bit more nervous. Whereas now, if you want to freak out, have at it. That's you, man. Like, you do you, but I'm going to do me. And you brought me here for this reason, is for me to be who I am and me to use my expertise and my skills to better suit your experience. And so I just sort of let people do them. I stay calm. And I've noticed that over time, if someone is having a nervous moment or they're excited or they're angry, whatever they are, the calmer you become,
it brings them back quicker.
It brings them back way quicker. And I tend to just stay, we talk like nonstop. When I'm on a job, it's not about me.
No.
It's how can I make that experience for that person the best experience for them for whatever they're about to face. And I think I'm really clear on that. That has probably come with age. And I don't say age as in a number, it's more maturity and just experience and wisdom. I just think anyone that's young or early on, I think you get sort of enamored by who the person is or what they do.
And wanting to do a good job.
Wanting to do a good job, whereas I always do a good job because every time I try to do better. I mean, I could tell you there are jobs that I've done and I look at it and I go, no one in the world would ever know what was wrong with that picture or what was wrong with that.
It's special.
And I will see something, I'm like, I can't believe I missed that one strand of hair. Oh, if I had only done X a little different, or, oh, why didn't I catch that fly away? And no one would see it, but I see it. So then I say, okay, next time when I go in, note to self, make sure to watch this, or note to self when that person turns this way, or like now to the point where I know lighting's on different shows. So like I know the lighting is hot at this show. I know the lighting when he sits in this chair looks this way. I know that, from this angle, the camera comes in this way. So that's experience. Whereas you would never know that, going in the beginning. It's more after repetition.
You can also, getting back to the personality piece, you could see it when they're walking in.
Oh, 100%.
So when you've worked with someone that long and I remember at my club, there was you come off the elevator and it's pushed away from the gym and you'd walk around the front desk. Yeah. And then there was a 200-foot long kind of runway to the other end, and probably at about the 120-foot mark where the locker room's on the left-hand side. And I can't tell you how many people would come, celebrity, non-celebrity, it doesn't matter. They walk around that turn.
Yes.
And just by the way they're walking, I wouldn't even have to see their facial expression. I'd be like, oh boy. We got our work cut out for us. Now, in the beginning of the career, maybe it was a little more, how you feeling? You all right?
Yes.
I might ask that one time, and the second they answer me, like, fine. Okay, that's what we're dealing with today? Okay, no problem.
Great.
Let's go. This is what we're doing. And it's all business. I literally have to take the emotions and put it aside and say to myself, this person's having a moment. They're coming to me to train. If it was that bad, they wouldn't be coming to me to train. And my job is to allow them to leave there in that hour, whatever amount of time it is, saying, I'm in a better place. And typically, if you deal with it the right way, I would normally find that within 15 minutes, I could start cracking them a bit.
Exactly.
And seeing that they kind of come back to earth. And then they're suddenly like, I've had them where, are you all right, Don? I'm fine. What's up? Sorry, man, I got this going on and blah, 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 blah. I was like, all right, listen, here to train, but like if you need a vent, I'm not telling you I have the answers, but happy to listen. And if you want my opinion, I'll give it, but feel free. And then a lot of times they unload, sometimes they don't, but always at the end of that session, they end up leaving hugging you. And you are in the exact same position because you're giving them back that confidence and that feeling. And they might be because they get in and out of your chair sometimes quick. It could be within 5 minutes. It could be a half an hour. You don't know. I've seen Men's Health shoot with you once. You're like removing hair. We have that funny picture of me.
We do.
Oh my God. Chris on the back. And if we could pull this picture up, it's hysterical. But there's a picture of me like bent over a table. And Chris is behind me with clippers. And it looks a little interesting. You could form your own conclusion on it.
Well, no, let's just tell them truthfully. He was doing a cover shoot to show skin. And he had a few random hairs
on my back that maybe I missed.
That it would have.
So she's behind me shaving my back, and I look in the mirror and I'm bent over this table, and Kristen's behind me going like this, and you can't see where her hands going.
You have no idea what's happening.
And it looked a little.
It did.
Interesting.
Very.
Eric's back there writing down like strike this from the podcast.
It did look very interesting, but that just goes to show like the attention to detail.
Yeah.
I mean, could that have been taken out in Photoshop? Of course, but that's one of those things I go back to that I see now many years later. Like it's the details,
right?
And that just comes with experience. Could I have very easily just been like, hey, hey guys, make sure, but I don't want to put my job on someone else in post. Right. Meaning it's not up to that person to remember to remove, this because the groomer didn't, shave it or tweeze it or, didn't pat down the shine. It's my responsibility. Right. So I think that again comes with wisdom versus age. I like to call it wisdom.
It's fascinating how many entrepreneurs I've met with that, get to a certain level of their life, which is a level of success. Like you said, you were not doing men's grooming and you were making six figures. And then what do? You take a couple steps down to then get into something where you weren't making any money and then you build it back up to this level that's special. Then out of nowhere, you decide to come out with this product called, it's got the greatest name ever, and I'm going to give it a plug, called The Best Pace. And I'm saying that because I use it. It's in my hair now. Tommy and Gio use it. Yes, I'm admitting this in public. If they get mad at me, they won't.
They won't.
My son at a young age, we used to come in during Christmas time. We have this day called Christmas Eve, which obviously it would be December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve. And my son and I would go in as Mel and Amelia would go do the lady shopping, and Donnie and I would go pick up some gear, and we would always get haircuts with you. And Donnie at like 7 years old is sitting there putting product in my hair. And he got so obsessed with it. There was actually a moment where we were down at in Nashville at a bunch of my buddies' spots.
This.
Henrik Lundqvist, who was one of our guests, and George Paros, who's going to be a guest. These are ex-NHL players. And my son is in George's house with a whole row of NHL players from like Brett Hull to James Neal. And Neal turns to him and goes, Donnie, like seriously, Donnie was like 8 years old. He's like, how do I put this stuff in my hair? And Donnie's sitting behind him, styling his hair at 8 years old. And the next thing you know, guys were showing up to the house with their hair was dry, going, "Well, where's your son? He's got to do my hair right now," because you instructed him how to do it. But those are memories that I have with Donnie, and that's because of you. But I got sidetracked a bit. But you decide to start a hair product line.
Yes. So
a men's grooming hair product line. What drove you to want to do this? I mean, it's exceptional. Thank God you did.
Thank you.
But tell me about it.
Thank you. So that's a really interesting story. And it goes back to the pandemic where life changed for everyone. And you reassess life. And I didn't work, Dawn, for like 2 years almost. I mean, because our clients were really working. They didn't really, some were going off to movies and shooting and, you were COVID testing every day. It was just a different time. And, I was at the peak of my career pre-COVID. I was supposed to be on a world tour like the week that COVID hit and it shut down. So, and everyone was like, oh, we'll give it 2 weeks. We'll give it a month. And next thing you know,
no one knew.
A year later, no one worked. And so it was a time to reassess. And I had always said I would never have my own product line. I just was, and it goes back to my earlier statement when we first started, is I've been very strategic with my career. I started off later. I became a hairdresser at 30. I knew I wanted to go into, cutting hair. I specialized. From there, I went into the editorial world. At that point, I realized celebrities were on the covers. Then I dabbled in the celebrities. Then at that point, blogging became big. And then I started a blog because Cosmo picked it as a top blog. And so then I was blogging for a little while. And so it's just been sort of this thing. And, I'd said I wanted to be on QVC, and then I got myself on QVC. And so I've just been like, this is
which is tough, but that's.
I sold out.
Did you
First
really?
time. I was on TSV. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I completely shit the bed.
Did you?
Yeah, completely shit. No, like implosion. What? No, it wasn't. No, I didn't mess up. Not to skip, but this is actually an interesting story. I got brought onto this company called the Body Wrench, which was like a rolling device. It looked like a car. It has these big black wheels, and when you detach two of them, it looks like something else. And use your imagination.
I don't even want to know.
And so I go in there, and this was like a therapy device where people use it because their backs, tight and uncomfortable. Right. And I got in, and I went to QVC school and had to go through the whole process in Pennsylvania. And we go on, and the guy beforehand is like, I launched P90X. I'm like, yeah, this isn't a P90X product. This is a rolling device. People are going to lay on their back and literally paddle their feet, and it does its work. It's actually a pretty brilliant device. Too expensive. They didn't make it. Right. Or I don't know what the company's doing now. Let me leave it at that. But I end up, before I go on, the guy goes, can you do like push-ups with it? And I go, yeah. He goes, show me. And I show him. He goes, wow, that's awesome. He goes, can you do an ab rollout with that? I go, yeah. I said, but please, like, I know the demographic. Like, I don't think this is going to work well. And we get out there, and the first thing he does is he goes, Don, look at the camera. Like, show him your biceps. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this guy just said that. I'm like, just like bicep. He goes, show an ab wheel rollout. And I'm like, right there, I'm like, oh my God, like this is done. And I do a full body rollout. And by then they're in my Mac, like, you're done.
Oh my
We sold like 20 or 30 units. And I literally drove home that night. And I remember pulling off at a Wendy's and eating, I think I ordered like 4.99 double stacks, a large fry, a Diet Coke, and a Frosty. And I ate like I was going to the electric chair. And I was literally in a parking lot by myself, like eating these burgers. And everyone's like, you did great. I'm like, it was a complete implosion.
It's the hardest thing.
My career is over. And I just hung up the phone.
It is. No one understands how hard. I did exactly what you did. I did, except I.
But you did
thank
well.
God, I had a really good.
But
I didn't at first. What happened with me? They put me on what's called the Today's Special Value, which is you're on 24 hours, right? I'd never been on TV. took the class. So now it's very different. There's 3 cameras. Which one you're supposed to look at? Someone's yelling in your ear. You have the hostess that is doing what they're supposed to do. It is the hardest thing.
It's live.
It's live.
There's no reruns.
You have I had models, and literally I go on the first show and I tank. Now, at this point, this company's relying on me to sell these products for every hour.
Why did you tank?
Because when you first said we were going more at a technical element versus the hair element, meaning like the styling, whatever. So it wasn't relating to
You weren't
the
emotionally
customers.
Connecting really with people.
It wasn't because we were trying to hit the technical, like the temperature, and it didn't sound no care. They want to know how does it make me look pretty.
Yeah.
How do I
look?
me
How do I feel?
And so, but what happened was the host, who was their number one, liked me. And she is the one that saved me and said to them, keep her on. Just keep her on.
Not me.
And so, and so they brought me back on. And what I chose to do is normally like when you do a 24-hour, you go to sleep and then you skip a couple of shows. And I was like, absolutely not. I stayed up every hour. And when I had to go on, just for the practice. And every show I would get a little more confident.
So
even though
that's how
delirious.
that was born for you. Everyone's got their story.
And then when the morning came, there was one of the hostess who was Southern, and she talked like this. And she said, now, Kristan, what do you do with that iron? And she led the dance. And she said,
awesome.
You told me about the temperature. And I was like, temperature. And I would go, and then she'd say, now show me a curl. And I would curl.
Oh, so she was good.
So she led the dance.
Yeah, she was good.
And then when that happened, I was like, I get it now.
This is gold. Yeah,
And when I went back, because after 24 hours, I ended with the first hostess that I started with. I think we sold over $1 million worth of flat irons in 8 minutes.
Oh my God.
It was unbelievable. And when that happens, you are just like, I mean, we sold out.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's on back order, it's on back. And you're like, woo, you're dancing. And it was incredible.
I don't think I sold enough product to pay for all the Wendy's that I ate on the way home. I think it was pretty bad. But.
So we both had experiences. I think that probably, if anything that I learned from that is that just adapting as quickly as possible, because the host has their one thing that they have to do, and I understand that. But what I also learned is you still have to sort of do what you do and find the happy medium.
But you know what's fascinating about talking about this right now? Even me talking about and giving you my story.
Anxiety.
No. I'm happy it happened.
Of course.
It's like whether, and if I sold $1 million in product, trust me, I would have been thrilled.
We sold 2.5. Of
course.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Right. But we started off flat. Like I said, I just was very fortunate that someone believed in me. Yeah. And she really did believe in me and kept me on.
And you'll never forget her for that.
We still talk.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Of course, right. But that's the fascinating piece, I think, about success and failure is that there's a lot of positive out of both.
Yeah.
And I'm actually that failure for me in that moment really triggered something in my head when it came down to, and I'm not saying I wasn't prepared, but I was prepared. But there was now it's more about resilience and more about bouncing back and realizing that it makes a good story. It is part of my journey and 100%. My path. And I think so now COVID comes around, you tell yourself you're never going to launch a product, and suddenly you're like, oh, I'm just going to start a men's grooming line that's going to kick ass. Let's just tell me about that.
To bring it back again. So you and I,
we
digress.
This is the beauty of it.
This is what we do.
It's not a digression. It's a lateralization.
I love that.
Yeah, that's Charlie's line.
I like that term. So pandemic happens. Yep. I'm not really working. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. A gentleman that I had used as hair paste for many, many years, been on 6 continents with me. Every time I'd get a quote, it would do really well because, again, back then there were the magazines, a lot of them, and it was just my favorite hair paste. And just like anything, he reassessed his life, and his son sort of had a very strong impact on him, and he wanted to sell the company. And it was just an opportunity to buy a company. And so I bought the company. I renamed, rebranded, kept the formulas. I've tweaked it very much since. But, worked with chemists and stuff like that.
Great packaging.
Thank you. I mean, I really did everything.
Perfect for travel.
Scaled back to the heroes, which were my hair. I have like 20 formulas. I have skincare, hair care. And I just sort of, I did some, I guess you'd say soul searching when we were going through this. And I said, you know what, let me let me sort of pull back to the heroes, the ones that I love the most. And I mean, Ben Miller is who I bought the company from. And I mean, he just did a remarkable job with this brand. And I love and adore him. And I still consider him, part of our family. And what he did was phenomenal. And I think just like anything, it was his time to sort of transition. And it was my time to sort of take over this new role in my life, which was owner of a hair paste company. And we manufacture from raw materials to finished goods. We're 2.5 years old. So, it was 2020 was the end. It was really 2021. 2022 is when I bought the company. We launched it. So I feel like the first year I learned how to make hair paste. I really was a manufacturer, got rid of, everything from his brand, the previous brand, and really started to try to understand what it is and how to make it and what it is to be I guess a manufacturer. And that was year one. Year two was getting business, which was and I'm really proud of this, Don. Like we're a team of 5.
Yeah.
Really small. I like to say, we
lean. We're running lean. That's what I said.
Small and mighty.
Yeah.
We wear multiple hats. We rob Peter to pay Paul
because
we are a startup.
I know what that is.
But with that being said, I have such an incredible people around me that support me in every way. So year two was we brought on Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, and
I remember Nordstrom, by the way. That was
we're in 40 doors in Nordstrom, and we're adding more. We just launched online with Bloomingdale's. I mean, it's funny because people think, oh, you're in Bloomingdale's, you're in Nordstrom. It takes like 9 months to get in.
And then when you get in, you got to sell because if it's not moving off the shelves, they're going to yank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And then we launched a massive collaboration for the first ever in anime in the hair care space with Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. So what's
exciting.
Crazy to me is that Nike launched their collaboration like 5 days before we did. And I'm like, wait, what? Nike? And then you have the best paste. It's this very unknown brand that is, like I said, small and mighty. And here we are following 5 days later with a launch with Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh is a multi-billion-dollar anime character. It's incredible. And so you go through these things of like, whoa, I have, like I said, this Tom, it's Doug, it's Tom, it's Alex, it's Ivanka, and, there's a few other people within our world that, sort of help out, but that jump in and out, and Pete, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, how are we all doing this? At one point, it's funny, we have a spreadsheet and everyone sort of has their somewhat responsibilities, and you look at it, I'm like, well, why is he doing that and that doing that? Because that's not even in their world, but we all just do it. I literally my warehouse is in Florida. I just flew down because we had to we sold out a product because I didn't anticipate a Nordstrom order coming in when it did. My projected out for X date to make again because we batch manufacture. So, we make X amount of times a year and we're small. And again, we're a small little company today. And so I didn't project for that because I didn't see it coming. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can't tell my customers we're sold out. So I literally hop on a plane, leave my 3-year-old kid, Doug's going through his health stuff and you just do what you got to do. So in 2 days we make thousands of products, start calling all my friends in. Pete's wife, hey Shannon, can you come? Pete, who's coming over to help out? And then you do what you have to do.
And no one ever hears these part of the stories, right? Because what you spoke about is, and I immediately started thinking about when you had to start calling publishers or editors, and you're calling managers of people, and the amount of rejection that comes with that. One of my favorite lines that I heard years ago, I think it was Bill Gates who said it, was, if content is king, then distribution is the kingdom. Right? And that's kind of in content, social world. If content is king, then distribution is the kingdom.
Yes.
You can have the greatest product on the planet.
Yes.
And if no one knows about it, you ain't going to sell it.
Exactly.
It's like you have to create this addition. Like you were cutting hair and you were men's grooming and you became an expert at this. And then you had to become an expert at dealing with people. Then you had to become an expert at managing personalities and managing agents. Then you had to learn about product.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about your product is that it's not a one size fits all.
No.
With the hair product, it's according to color. So like I wear orange.
Right.
the orange color, or Donnie might wear blue. Right?
Donnie does wear blue.
Donnie does wear blue. I remember. And this is all in accordance to your hair texture, maybe how oily your hair is, how it glides, how it holds, the look that you're looking for. It is really catered to the individual. Now you're jumping on planes as you have a 3-year-old and your partner is, like you said, dealing with some health issues and flying down to Florida to go work out of a distribution plant.
Yes.
It is, these are things people just think success, they see I'm going to name people I worked with, the Ryan Reynolds or the Calvin Kleins, and they think, oh, this just immediately happened. Every single person that I've spoken to, every single person at a level has that moment of, oh my God, I was either thought I was unhireable or I wasn't going to have a career anymore.
100%. I mean, I look at that now. I mean, here I am at this stage of my career. I was at the height of my career in this celebrity sort of, as we call it, that world of grooming. I buy a company. I start from zero. Nobody knows us. Never had a publicist. I shouldn't say that. We had a friend of mine was helping in the very, very beginning. Never spent an ad in advertising. I've self-funded the whole thing. Right. Family and friends have sort of helped out along the way.
Sure.
And
you didn't have the luxury of being able to do those things.
Exactly.
You had to bootstrap it and figure it out on your own. And you're still doing it. It's doing very well. And actually,
thank you.
Chris on the back end, I never do product placement here, but I want to put a link up. Anyone who wants to buy some type of men's hair care grooming product for their partner, I suggest it's a great gift. Holidays are coming around. I would throw it,
Thank you
do
so
an
much,
order
Tom.
and throw it in there. But I know men are thinking a lot more about this now. We just had a friend of ours recently who was like, oh, hey, I'm now using different types of face moisturizers between bed. I'm using eye cream now. I'm 48. I'm starting to see those lines coming a little bit. You want to take care of yourself.
Here's what, it's really interesting. So, and I have been trying to figure out it just for our own as a brand, the way that I see what I do as a hairstylist. And I always call it my magic mirror. And I find it fascinating. And you probably deal with this as well. I've never had a client sit in my chair when they first walk in and they look in the mirror and say, I look good today.
I'm happy on where I'm at.
Never said that. They sit in the chair and they look in the mirror. And I always say, getting your hair cut is the only time in life you will sit in a chair and look in the mirror for an hour. It pulls out every insecurity of every person, no matter who you are and what walk of life, because you're forced to look at yourself. And there's no other time. You get up in the morning, you get ready, boom, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is.
Quick,
It's quick. And you're, at a million things, you're texting, you're talking, whatever.
And you're doing that by yourself.
Yes.
When you're doing those things. Now you're doing it with a set of eyes on you.
Now you're in
That's
my
critiquing.
chair.
Yep.
You're looking at yourself. And now I'm behind you, because that's where I'm looking into the mirror. And so I call my magic mirror. My responsibility is to look in the mirror and see the things that you don't. Because again, I've never had anyone sit in the chair and be like, I love my cheekbones. My lips look good today. I love my eye color. They don't. They say, oh my God, I've gained 10 pounds. I'm going through a divorce. My hair's thinning. Oh, look at this pimple. Oh, my neck is, the wrinkle. That's what they do, because I do it myself. When I just had my hair colored yesterday, I was like, oh my God, if I could only gain the last 15 pounds, or lose the last 15 pounds, and so it's inevitable. I'm going to find things I don't like versus what I do like. So my responsibility is to find the things that the hair hair is an accessory you wear every day. And it should always complement your face. So what I try to do behind the chair is give them that confidence when they leave my chair, because I've taken what doesn't work in their haircut or their style, and I've created it so that they see what I see. Meaning, and I'm getting into a little bit technical here, but I always say, if you think of hair as the ends are arrows. So on a woman, if you have a fringe or a sweeping bang, that pulls out the eye. If you have a bob, it's a jawline. If you have face framing, it opens a neckline or the lip area. So it points towards things. So if a man has, let's say, thickness around the sides of his hair, but he's thinning, well, it ends up showing more recession versus that's where the weight line is on the side. So you want to take it shorter. So it's those sort of educational conversations that I have to look in the mirror and say, hey, listen, let's think about this. If you take this shorter, it's actually going to give the optical illusion that your hair is thicker. So what I'm trying to do with my own company, the best pace, and I'm going to plug my own company here, is that what my pace does is exactly what you've been saying. It gives you confidence. And so I know that all the great things about it. It's organic. It washes out easily. It's, comes out with water. It's got all the right ingredients. It's everything that it's a wonderful product as far as for your hair, the benefits of it. But it's more than that, because men especially, or even women, yes, some people really care what the products do, or is it organic, or, is it chemical free, or is it, does it cruelty free? And that is important. We have all that. But really, how does it make you feel? What confidence does it get you? And that's something that I am really trying to sort of sort out. I know how to do it behind a chair because you're in my mirror. But how do I portray that in my product line?
Something that most people wouldn't think about when it comes down to a men's grooming line, right? And now, as we're all aging, there's things that we think about differently in our mid to late 40s than we were thinking about in our mid to late 20s. You're just thinking differently. And there is going to be, and very rarely have I met anyone that doesn't have this, there is going to be a decline in the sense of like how you feel. Right. Man, I look like I've said it to there's certain days I wake up and I look at myself, I'm like, man, I look old. I never said that in my 20s. Right. Not that I don't have confidence, but I'm recognizing that I look tired, or there was bags under my eyes, or something going on. It is important to me that I feel good about not only how I feel, but how I look, because that's a very normal thing to want to have. Yes. And you know what? There's so many things that we can do out there nutritionally. Exercise. You and I have worked a lot on exercise together. We've worked a lot on nutrition. We both have different things going on in our bodies as we're aging. Yes. And this is all an adjustment. So why not take that same focus with something that I think is very controllable? The moisturizer you put on your face, the hair product you put in your head. I think it's fascinating. And it's great to see more people waking up to these sort of things. They're really more waking up to, this is a wellness product, right? Like you were really in it's the men's grooming space, but it is skirting that line of wellness. Because if it's going to make someone feel good.
It's confident. I like to say, for me, it's confidence in a jar. Right. That's what I believe my product does. Right. You use it and you feel confident. You feel the best that you can that possible day when you leave. When you look in the mirror, you feel your best. Right. And that's what it does for you. Now, here's what's really interesting about men's products, or men's, is that 50% of women buy for men. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's a statistic. And Crosswalks New York is a marketing company that I work with before I even bought the company, that did a huge market research. And I think the number is like 48% of women buy for men. Right. In the grooming space. So really, a lot of men will just use whatever their significant other tells them to wear. Right. And so for me, I say, well, I want you to look your best, right? So I'm going to provide you with the solution is here. But what is also very interesting is that I always like to say women shop, men buy. A woman will shop around and look around. You guys know what they want. You go in, you get it, you get out. And the other thing with grooming, and I think social media has truly changed the course of how men see themselves. I believe this. There's no study on this. It's just what I believe, doing what my job is that now that we are taking 1 million selfies a day, you're starting to see things that you wouldn't have seen before. Right. Wrinkles, gray, recession, stubble, whatever it may be, ingrown hairs.
And the quality of cameras that we're using now are a bit different than what we may have seen years ago. Maybe you're capturing from angles that you normally wouldn't.
Exactly. Lighting.
Exactly.
And the other thing is that as females, we have been searching for the fountain of youth since birth. Men don't typically realize, you'll have a wrinkle and say, oh, I need eye cream. You should have been using eye cream 20 years ago.
100%.
Right? You and I had this conversation 15 years ago when I gave you eye cream.
I was using it 15 years ago. It's still happening.
But you know what I'm saying? So like there's this realization. Men will discover recession when they're receding. They will discover ingrown hairs once they've had an ingrown hair. So it's just a very interesting way how this younger generation is identifying with it.
They're getting smarter.
Like Donnie already does it all.
I was laughing the other day because I walked into his bathroom and he had moisturizer on the counter for his face.
Of course he did.
And he's like uses certain soaps and he has the things that he likes and that's part of he's become very routine oriented. I wonder where he gets that from. But it is fascinating now to see how we are smarter. People are, even their thought process, right? Like I'm noticing people are drinking less. Mm-hmm. They're more, younger kids are more health conscious.
Yes.
You know, this is the direction. It's a good direction. But yeah, getting back to the social media piece, I do believe everyone always knocks social media. I think it's a wonderful thing if it's used for the right reasons and for the right way. Listen, Kristan, I'm going to start calling you. I'm done with the celebrity hairstylist thing is gone. I think I'm going to coin you as the strongest woman in men's grooming.
Oh, thank you, Don.
Because there's so much that you do. You're an incredible support system to Doug.
Thank you.
You are an incredible mother with your 3-year-old daughter. You're an entrepreneur. You're a businesswoman. And what I respect, as much of an incredible human you are, but the thing I really keep respecting about you is your grittiness and your ability to level up in situations when people crumble and they just want to give up. And we've had a lot of discussions, things that are private, we're not going to talk about. But if everyone on the planet right now knew the fight and the type of person you are, this will be the best product in the world. But it will become the best product in the world tomorrow. And I'm honored to call you a friend, and I love you to death, and Melissa loves you to death, and my kids love you to death, and only great things for you guys. And listen, I also want to thank Christian Ponder over at The Post. This place is awesome, isn't it?
It's incredible.
It's like we work for professional. I always say we work for professional athletes. They're going to call it something else because this place is incredibly special. I want to thank the Blind Nil team, Matt, Eric, Chris, everyone over here. I mean, I know Joanna and Chip Gaines have been incredible friends, and they've been they put me on a pedestal, and their support is just it's incredible. And I'm just having fun being able to bring people on that I love. It's not about social media. It's not about recognition and how popular someone is. I told myself the first year I'm going to bring on my favorite people with great stories, and the common theme is that they're resilient. And every person has gotten kicked in the face, maybe has almost been unhireable or have lost someone or have lost their business, and they keep coming back with a level of success, which I think is the main takeaway. So I just want to thank you for coming on, and thank everyone for listening. And can you just let everyone know where they can find you, social media?
Thank you. My social media handles are at Serafino Says and at The Best Paste. And Don, thank you for being, I mean, I've always called you my big brother, even though I am a little older, but what you've done for me, not only as a friend, but as a brother.
Appreciate it.
It means the most, and it's been an honor to be on your show.
I appreciate it. Right, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
The views, information, or opinions expressed in the series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Chip and Joanna Gaines, Binel Audio, nor Magnolia.